So now that the iPhone 10 is available for pre-order and you may have missed out on the launch day and Christmas is sure a long ways away for you've been waiting for your next device, is the 8 Plus a worthy alternative? In my opinion, I feel like it is, mainly because of two things. One, Touch ID. I've grown to really like this, and now I typically do use Android, but I decided to give the 8 Plus a try because of the processor that everybody's been raving about. And this is hard to get away from. I feel like once Apple does that, there's going to be a lot of confusion, and it's going to be overall a little bit of a learning curve because everything they have at this point uses Touch ID. So only time will tell how you like picking your phone up to unlock it. Maybe it's not as bad as we all think, but I use my phone on my desk all the time, and that just seems like that may be slightly annoying overall. And the other, of course, is going to be that notch life. Now, I just got the Essential phone, and despite being a fairly well-built device, that is very annoying to me, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like on a phone that has it even larger. I have a feeling that is going to really be a pretty big deal breaker for me in the end because I'm all about symmetry for the most part. And despite this having obviously the dated design, it's $200 cheaper than the 10 starts off at. So it is what it is when it comes to that. If that's for you, you go ahead. You will get slimmer bezels and a little bit bump in camera performance, but you're paying for that and you're losing a very key feature in my opinion. Now, the usage with this phone as far as battery and stuff goes has been fairly well. Battery shouldn't really change between the two, although it is getting a different screen, but that screen actually should be more efficient. But battery for me has been 7 to 8 hours of usage according to iOS 11. So that's not bad. I get up at 6 and typically when I get home, use my device, 10, 11 o'clock, I still got juice to end out the night. So it has really impressed me. Now, it doesn't multitask quite the way that Android does, which helps with that, but it also has a pretty efficient processor in the end as well. Camera, this has been my go-to for video recording, and it does well in point and shoot. There have been some instances. I just did a quick test for photos on the new headphones I just got. Review coming soon. It was actually a little darker than the rest, and I was kind of disappointed, but video-wise, it has not disappointed me at all. And of course, it's waterproof now. Well, the last device was too, waterproof. So that's always good to have for that occasional spill or splash you might encounter. And the speakers have been great as well. These are some of the fullest and also loud speakers on the market to me right now in a current device. Yes, the Axon 7 may be better, but that's pretty well aged at this point. But for an earpiece and a down firing, they are really good. That's always been my comparison device at this point. The speakers, this is the one to really beat, and some may disagree with that, but I have a Pixel 2 with 2 front firing, and despite them being loud and clear, they're just missing a little something when it comes to the full range audio spectrum. And the screen is good too. Yeah, it's not super punchy, but it's not super dull, but it's clear enough for me, and it's natural. And Apple really has gotten a hold of that and fine-tuned it over the years. Now, I do not use the, what's that feature, True Tone? I actually leave that off. I didn't care for the way that kind of turned yellowish over time, almost like the night mode was enabled. It just wasn't for me, so I leave it off. Some people may like it, I don't. Performance has been, good on it. However, performance can be hindered even with a good processor because of one main thing. And we'll actually put that right here. iOS 11, no matter what device you have, is full of bugs. And it's quite a few of them. And I want to give some demonstrations, but I've tried it multiple times and it just seems to not really want to do it on camera. But trust me, one of the main ones that irritates me is when multitasking, and we'll go ahead and try it anyways. Let me see what we've got on here. Let's open a couple of apps real quick. Make sure none of it has anybody's names or anything on it. I'd hate for that to end up on the internet. And this doesn't have a SIM in it, but regardless, let's see if it does it. That really disappointed me during the launch too as well. But usually what will end up happening, and of course it doesn't, it kind of did it there. When I go to close out a device, or close out a program, there, it did it just there. It does that sweeping. Am I doing something wrong? I don't know. It doesn't always close because I got to go back and get it in it eventually will correct itself. But another thing is it doesn't cut off. And I just noticed this recently because normally I'll put the phone in my pocket or put it on my desk. I always hit the power button. But lately, it just seems like it just stays on. Is there a feature activated that I don't know about? Just let me know below if I'm doing something wrong on that, or is that really a bug in the system? It does have obviously a very dated design, despite it being very well crafted, and the feel is pretty decent, although it's the standard aspect ratio. It does feel pretty good with extra weight in your hand, but you're paying for that. This device starts at $800. So price is too high. This really, like most people have said, should have just been called the 7S. This is no means, despite having a little bit better camera and a top-notch processor, should not have been called an 8. You should have left that, but maybe that's something to do with the way they're calling the next one the 10. I don't know Apple's reasoning behind it, but that price is too high for what you get. And the next thing on that is going to be storage options. It's very odd to have such a gap in your storage. This should not have been that for what price you're paying there. It should have been $128. If it were $128, I'd not have so much of an issue with how much it costs. I don't care how fast the processor is. When it's loaded with bugs, it doesn't really matter. And we need space. Not everybody wants to use cloud storage, despite that being my primary thing now. And that's because I switched so many devices, but not everybody does that. This filled up quickly when shooting 4K, which, like I said, does really well, but I almost emptied out the whole storage with a mere couple of videos. So delete, 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 we're good to go again. And it's also not that it has anything to do with device. It takes a while to load stuff up to storage as well, depending on your Wi-Fi network, which sucks because I usually use the one at my work, or rely on my carrier, which obviously isn't Wi-Fi at that point. Of course, no headphone jack. That's not coming back, so we might as well stop even bringing that up, but we're gonna write it down for now. Oh, what the? Wrote that wrong completely. No jack phone, no headphone. Getting tired here. That late night the other day really did me in. Still trying to recover from that. And that doesn't even fit on the screen, but we know what it says. No headphone jack. Not something I really use. The speakers are good enough for me when it comes to audio, cooking dinner, if that ever actually happens. Just sitting on a counter. I rely usually on my phone for that. Of course, you can sync it up to some kind of Bluetooth device and be just fine and not worry about regular audio performance, but a lot of people do still like to plug their phone in to their car with an aux port, or they do have that nice set of wired headphones. Me, I don't. I have wireless. I'd rather not deal with the cords myself. So overall, this, if I were to pick an Apple product, would be the one I would get versus that. That's going to really annoy me, and Touch ID is also a major win for me. So Apple products, my pick. As far as against Android products, that's very hard to say. I do find myself debating whether I should keep this or not, mainly because of its high price point. I can make room for some other devices with that, because it's $850 just for the 64 out the door. But it does so well in other areas, which I like, especially using it as my video recorder. But I could just buy $500 or $600 dedicated camera for that, and maybe that'll be something I do here in the near future. So let me know what you think. Is this a device for you? Are you thinking about getting the 10? If you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them. As far as an Android alternative, I do like my Note 8, but the video performance just hasn't been as good as this one. But overall, that is a media beast. This is too but it just doesn't quite multitask the way I would like it to do. The screen is smaller and the design is a little bit aged. And with my trade-in value on a phone I paid $80 for through eBay, $300 credit, I got it for $770 out the door, done. So it was cheaper than this as well for a newer design. But anyways, that's my take on it. Like I said, leave a comment below. Later.